There we go. The purpose of tonight's session is to give you a bit of a taster about our upcoming conference on the 1st of May. Now, we at the HMO Action Group are very excited about this day because it's not an NRLA conference. You can say things, you can ask questions, you can, say things that are a little bit controversial or that maybe you wouldn't say if you were in an NRLA conference. And we've certainly got some speakers for you that are going to really get you thinking. They're going to get your grey matter working and churning up. And also, the conference is here to help inform you and educate you about the Renters' Rights Bill and about changes to EPCs. We've got specialists coming on the day to help tell you about those areas, in particular around HMOs. Our focus is on HMOs, and that's what we're going to be doing. So we're really excited about the day. We've got a lot of people already signed up, which is great. But you might be one of these people who are thinking, oh, I don't know if I want to go. Is it worth it? And if you're watching the recording of this, you'll be thinking, is it worth me going? Is it going to be worth my while? Is it what I want to pay my money to and take a day out from my week? Go up to Solihull. Is it worth my time and my effort? And that's what we're going to be hopefully answering for you tonight. And not only that, but hopefully we'll even be answering, we'll be seeing some ticket sales afterwards as well, as you decide, yes, I will come. It's too good to miss. So I'm really delighted that tonight we have got a number of the speakers who are going to be talking on that day here with us, which is great. So I'd like to say a really, really big thank you to those speakers. We've also got a couple of people who are our sponsors also here this evening, which again, I'll tell you about them. And again, really, really grateful to our sponsors who are really helping us to put on a very professional and exciting day. And you're going to get an awful lot from it, not just from the speakers, but also from the other content that we've got planned for the day. So first of all, what I'd like to do, if he has appeared, I know he's been actually having a little problems as well, is Steve. Steve Moore, are you around, Steve? Yes.
I'm here on my phone because the laptop won't play ball at all. So, on top of whatever technical issues you've had, I've got a few more extra ones of my own. It's a joy, isn't it? It's a joy.
Well, the thing is, Steve, as long as we get these out of the way before the 1st of May, it doesn't matter, does it?
Absolutely right. My wife's on a laptop in another room as a delegate, and she seems to be doing far better than I am. So it's probably user error.
Okay. Well, Steve, I want to introduce you because you're playing a very important role in the day. You're going to be our master of ceremonies for the day. So maybe you could just give us a brief introduction to who you are. Why are you our MC?
Sure. Well, because you've asked me to be that, and I thought I'd better not let you down. And you do so much heavy lifting that we have to chip in with something, don't we? So I'm going to chip in and do that. And look, I've been an HMO landlord for about 5 or 6 years now. But relative to a lot of people who'll be attending the conference or are part of the organising group, really probably quite a modest scale in terms of the portfolio. Properties in High Wycombe and in Windsor. I'm an HR director by day. I've done the occasional bit of, speaking at business conferences and that sort of thing, and I'll try and make sure that things run smoothly on the day, and that we big up all of our speakers, many of whom people are about to hear a little bit from tonight as a taster.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you ever so much. And Steve is going to play a real crucial role. So you'll see a lot more of him, obviously, on the 1st of May. He's going to be helping us by directing proceedings. And I know he's going to do a fabulous job. So tonight, what I want to do is give each of our speakers a chance to introduce themselves to you. If you've never heard of them before, you haven't heard them speak, which is possible, although many of them are extremely well-known names in the HMO world. They're going to tell you a little bit about who they are and their background and why you should listen to them. And then I'm going to ask them to give you a very tiny introduction to what they'll be talking about on the day. We don't want to give away too much content here. We just want to whet your appetite for what's going to happen. So I'd actually like to turn to our very own wonderful female speaker that we have. And of course, we're a meritocracy, but nevertheless, it is good to have a fellow female speaker, because this particular person I know has got to shoot off and she's got a few other things to get on with this evening. So I would like to give her the opportunity to do her little piece. And then Sue, if you want to shoot off, you're very, very welcome to do that. So our first person I want to introduce you to is the wonderful, the amazing Sue Sims. So, Sue, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for inviting me, Wendy. I'm really excited about the 1st of May. I think it's going to be a great day. Some background about myself. I've been in property for more than 30 years. I've got a mixed portfolio of HMOs, buy-to-let, social housing, serviced accommodation. So I always wanted to diversify. And for my sins, for the last 10 years, I've been working with lots of different social housing providers. And somehow or other, I've now been given the name of the Queen of Social Housing. Don't really know how that's happened, but it just seems to be a tagline that people attach to me. On the 1st of May, I will really be talking to you about how I've involved social housing as part of my portfolio, how it frees up a lot of my time, but most importantly now, and particularly with the Renters' Rights Bill coming in, it's moving all of my properties that I lease to social housing providers outside of the Housing Act. So fingers crossed, I'm not going to be affected too much by the Renters' Rights Bill. And I'll incorporate more about that on the 1st of May. So I hope, Wendy, is that enough of a taster?
That is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Honestly, Sue, you're a star, a true professional. So yes, please.
I forgot to mention, I'm a director at Genie Homes, and we're an HMO management agency, and we manage just shy of 1,000 tenancies. So I have got quite a background in HMOs as well. It's not just sort of like social housing.
Great, absolutely amazing. So Sue is our first expert speaker. You'll be able to hear her on the day. Obviously, she's given you a little bit about what she's going to be talking about. And I know you'll find her very inspirational, very interesting and educational. And Sue is a very straight talking person. She will tell you what she thinks about certain areas of regulation and legislation, but also help you and give you practical tools and tips to navigate that. So fabulous. Thank you ever so much, Sue.
Thank you. See you all on the 1st of May.
Get wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, Sue. Now, the next person I'd like to come to is Des Taylor. Now, Des may well be well known to some of you. Des is prolific on social media. I don't know how he does it. Nearly every day there seems to be a new video from Mr. Taylor appearing on my feed. But Des will tell you a little bit about his background and his experience and expertise. And again, a little bit of a taster of what Des is going to be speaking to you about. Now, Des, you're still on mute. We're missing all the wise words. That's better.
Right. The reason you see me on social media every day is because of the previous speaker who just spoke, Sue Sims. And many years ago, she asked me to take part in a challenge, and I think it was a 10-day challenge, and every day you just had to post a video. And at the time, I didn't want to do it, so I did it anyway. As Steve mentioned there, Windsor. He's got properties in Windsor. I live in Windsor. So I became the advocate for Windsor and all about it. So that's how I started doing it, started getting used to using the camera and doing what I'm doing now, which is talking to you. But during the day, I work very hard at defending landlords when trouble strikes or preventing it in the first place if I can. Because I'm the co-founder of Landlord Licensing and Defence, and we assist landlords and letting agents in sort of navigating the complex landscape of property regulations as they currently are. And I've been instrumental in defending landlords with financial penalties, which have been quite severe, rent repayment orders, licensing breaches, and avoiding them losing out to £30,000 fines. But one of the things I also do is I advocate at the First Chair Tribunal Property Chamber. So I represent landlords against licensing disputes, rent repayment orders, and that type of thing. So it's contributed to the formation of case law. I've set some legal precedents, which I'm very, very proud of. But I'm also a regular speaker at letting agents and property events. And I'm generally brought in to tell people the truth rather than the reality, well, rather than the stark reality that it's not all jazzed up, which is making money. Because that's what a lot of people do. They go to property events. It's all about how much money you can make. But the most important part is doing it properly, getting it right, being right so that you don't get into trouble. And that helps avoid people getting council fines, getting civil penalties for issues they didn't realise, improvement notice, prohibition orders and rent repayment orders, or planning enforcement notices. I deal with all of those types of things. And what I've seen as the most important part of legislation. We've had some major things happen in the last 30 or 40 years. And in 1988, we had the Housing Act 1988, which brought us in the assured short tenancy. Then in 2004, we had the Housing Act 2004, which was where the HMO definition that we have today came from. And then we've had lots of things happen. But in 2016, it was the Housing and Planning Act 2016 that changed everything. It changed it so much that it actually was the pilot scheme for what the Renters' Rights Bill is going to become of the future. And what I'll be sharing at the event is the secrets that nobody else understands. You're listening to people out there. I listened to a webinar the other day. How many I think so's? I don't really know. My belief is, I think it's going to be this. I think it's going to be that. Yes, it sells social media. It's really clever. It's really good. People are worrying about Section 21. I worked out Section 21 and what it's really about a long time ago. There are lots of things that people don't understand, but you have to go back and study history to understand exactly what's going on with the Renters' Rights Bill. I've been going back looking at what's been happening in property the last 250 years. And I'll be sharing some of that that's really important because, quite frankly, we are probably the only country in the world currently that actually has a structure that works between landlords, superior landlords, and tenants. And do you know what? They're about to screw it all up. They're about to screw everything up, not just with the Renters' Rights Bill, with the leasehold reform, lots and lots of things. And why? Because for the last 8 years, I have been defending landlords, seeing problems that you have never seen, issues that you can't believe come up. And what I'm seeing right now with the councils, God help us.
Now, Des, I'm hoping you are going to share some of those horror stories because, you know, we all secretly love a horror story. It kind of gets our juices flowing. So I hope that you are going to not only tell us about the Renters' Rights Bill, but also give us some food for thought about how to avoid some of those horror stories that you come across every day.
I'm going to be sharing lots of information during the day. It's a great opportunity to ask. I have dealt with 2,500 cases where I've defended landlords in their situations because of the things that are going on. The future of rent to rent, I can tell you all about that. I can tell you incredible stories that you will want to hear. Yes, I grew up in the time when it was the Hammer House of Horror, for those of you who are old enough to remember that, and the Christopher Lee and all that type of stuff. These are names that some of you have never heard of, yeah? But if you have, then you'll know that I've come from a generation where things were very, very different. And I've watched this change for 8 years. I can tell you, I have never seen so much enforcement, but it's being done so badly. I mean, they're implementing it so badly. It reminds me of the stories of the 1980s with the Hong Kong police and their corruption, the Manchester police, their corruption, and the falseness of the Birmingham Six and the Guildford Four, or is it the other way around? Those types of things I remember from the 70s. It's coming back, so we need to be.
Well, Des, I know your passion, your knowledge, your experience speaks for itself. We can't wait to hear you on the 1st of May. I know there'll be lots of people lining up, queuing up to see you. And I know it's going to be a very, very informative and lively session. So brilliant. Thank you so much, Des. We're really looking forward to seeing you. And I know it's going to be, a great session. Right. I'd like to move now on to our other very, very special legal eagle. I call him that. He doesn't mind. Alan Murdy. Now, Alan is Alan has been part of this organisation since its very inception. Alan, myself and Darren first formed the HMO Council Tax Reform Group. In fact, it was Alan's idea to call it the HMO Council Tax Reform Group. What a great idea that was. And Alan has been with us all along the journey. And if it weren't for Alan, we would not be here today. He was absolutely critical and has continued to be a critical part of what we're doing. And so, Alan, I'd like to bring you metaphorically to the stage now, please. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you do, please.
Well, good evening. Thank you, Wendy. Well, I'm a barrister, and I'm one of the few barristers who actually attempt to defend people who are held liable for paying council tax. That is, I stick up for the taxpayer. And history's been mentioned. Well, I actually realise I've become part of history because I've been doing this a terribly long time now. I go back to the early 90s with my involvement with local taxation. It was not a cause of rejoicing that council tax enjoyed its 32nd birthday on the 1st of April. But the one reason why I understand something about council tax is I've been involved with it right from the beginning, and I've seen it turn from what was promised as a beautiful creature, a system that was promised to be fair, straightforward, simple, and best of all, it would protect the most vulnerable into our community, into something more equivalent of the transformation. Des mentioned horror films. It's gone from the beautiful creature created, I'm afraid, a bit like a Frankenstein's creature, and it's turned into now a complete monster for many people, and it's Britain's biggest debt problem. Just to I've seen it. I've seen a whole generation of tax collectors and enforcement agents come and go, and they're coming back reincarnated now in a new form. If I was to continue with Des's horror film analogy, yes, I do remember those days. When I started off, and some of you may find this hard to believe, I could usually sort out a council tax problem with a couple of phone calls and a couple of letters in a maximum of 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes 6, maybe 2 months if you had to go near a tribunal. Now, even getting the simplest change in the direction of getting, I can't even call it justice, but just simply getting the law right can one can struggle for months. For the last 27 years, I've edited the Council Tax Handbook, which is the leading guide on council tax. When I started, it was 192 pages long. Many editions later, the next edition is going to be about 400 pages long. It's become so complicated, I have to look it up in my own book. But I've learned a few things along the way. What I'll be endeavoring to do is share with you some of my best tips and tactics if you are facing a council tax problem, which is um, almost unbelievable number of people now. Council tax is Britain's biggest debt problem. There's a huge amount of cognitive dissonance about it. It's one of these subjects that great many people would rather not think about. I don't blame them actually, because it is not the most exciting of subjects, but you do need to know the intricacies now if something hits you. Let me say, I quite like Des's mention of Christopher Lee. Well, in the past, if we go back more than a quarter of a century, if you had a council tax problem, at least the bloodsuckers were reasonably human looking, and they were articulate, and there were the legal equivalents of stakes, garlics, and crucifixes to deal with them. If I was remaking the horror film today, it wouldn't be a vampire film. It would be closer to one of these Walking Dead films, where you're surrounded by this large, mindless horde who were just sweeping towards you. And no matter how many you shoot and decapitate, you know that they will eat you up at the end. Well, the aim of my talk is to prevent people from getting eaten by the system. Let me say that I'm not a complete pessimist, though. I am optimistic in the long run. I have seen these things change before, and I have seen them alter. And I'm pleased to say that through the dedication of the HMO Action Group members, I had some ideas. Other people made a significant change in the legislation, which is benefiting thousands of people now. I think that kind of success can be repeated. In fact, it's inevitably going to be repeated. And I also, in what I'll be saying, which will be geared towards practical tips and helping people, I will also be giving some of my own prophecies, predictions, and guides as to where we're going in what is turning into a particularly interesting spring on many levels.
Excellent, excellent. Well, listen, we can't wait to hear you, Alan, because you have incredible words of wisdom and knowledge about the law that transcends so many boundaries. And you've had huge success supporting people. You've also suffered failure and defeat at times as well. So you understand that process and how damaging that can be when people are defeated by the system. So it would be really, really good to listen to what Alan has to say and to understand what he's saying. And I know that he is also going to be talking a little bit about HMOs prior to December 2023. Our legislation, the statutory instrument, took effect from the 1st of December 2023. But what about before that? And I know that Alan is going to be talking about that and mentioning that too. So amazing. Alan, we are so honoured to have you. Thank you so much for being there on the 1st of May. No, we wouldn't do it without you. And I know that you're probably traveling quite a long way to be there because Alan is based in Scotland. So we're very grateful, very honoured to have you. Now, the next person I want to move on to is taking is slightly different tack. Certainly a very different personal style. From his headgear to his footgear, you probably all know, or at least have maybe come across, the infamous, the irreligious, and the important Rich Nichols. Rich,
hi, Wendy.
Hello there. Now, can we get you on camera? Yes, we have got you on camera.
Yeah, am I there?
Yes,
yeah,
you
okay.
are.
Hi, everyone. I'm sat in the car out the front of the house because I've got noisy toddlers kicking off at bedtime, so I've decided to hide out the way.
Now,
so I'm not
Rich,
actually travelling anywhere for once. So I'm just sort of sat here at home.
brilliant. Well, look, tell us a little bit about you, your background, and why you're coming along on the 1st of May.
Yeah, so if nice to meet you, everyone. So what I do as a day job for years and years is value HMOs. Started off valuing them without even realising what HMOs were, just as an agent years ago, and then gradually as a specialist subject. Most of my valuations with a previous company called the Property Advantage were for sales purposes because HMOs were selling very readily. We had lots of activity in the market, and you could sell tenanted HMOs for pretty much the sort of the refinance level, or you could get top ups for a C4 HMO above where they'd refinance if they couldn't be leveraged against commercially. Buyers would come in and actually be prepared to pay a top up for a premium for a tenanted HMO. All that kind of changed post Liz Truss, really, with the cost of lending changing, and it's got a lot more difficult to sell tenanted HMOs in this market. I'm at the point where I'm valuing probably more than 150 a month. And I'd say a vast majority of that, at 60, 70%, is consultancy based now, rather than actually advising them to launch and sell now. Really got to pick your exit routes. And we're doing a lot more exit planning, HMO health check, and advising people, what is the saleability and refinanceability of these sort of new HMOs to create from a GDV perspective, or large portfolio landlords right down to single individuals. You all need to know what your exit is.
Right.
That exit could come at any given time. So with that in mind, and with that focus at the moment, obviously the changes with EPCs, Renters' Rights Bill, added into the changes externally as well that's taken place with, things like Article 4, stamp duty increasing, loads of different things like that, and obviously the fluctuating interest rates and the challenges in the market from an outsider. What's that doing to your HMO's value is what I'm going to focus on that day, because Des and all the other speakers talking about the nuts and bolts within the sort of compliance and the legislation from a landlord to tenant relationship, but we all need to know, well, what's the ongoing value of these assets? What's the exit option? So Sue will come and do the talk about avoiding Renters' Rights Bill, and moving over portions of portfolios into social housing. I will be caveating that and saying, well, what's the exit? What's the refinanceability? What's the saleability of these? And what's a lender's perspective going to be for properties with social housing leases or tenant base with changing from an AST to the new renters' rights structure? So that's going to be the focus that I'm looking at. So what's it worth? Is there still going to be a buyer's market? What are the lenders going to be saying? Are they going to be losing confidence in HMOs? Are they going to be adapting their loan to value, the leverage of what they look at it? And are different buyer types going to be in or out of purchasing HMOs as a result of the changes that are going to be coming? So hopefully, yeah, that's a bit of a unique angle for it, but it fits within my little wheelhouse. So I'm looking forward to coming along.
Rich, you're going to make a fantastic addition to the team because ultimately, for many of us, it's our business. We've got to run this as a business. So we have to remember that the whole day is geared to us running a business, an HMO business. And whether we've got one HMO or 100 HMOs, 4 rooms or 4,000 rooms, these issues touch us all. And that's why it's great to have people from across the spectrum there. So thank you. That's really, really great. Really appreciate it. Now, I want to bridge from Rich into just telling you about a couple of speakers who will be there on the day. They can't make it tonight, unfortunately, but I want to let you know that we've got 2 other speakers. And you might be thinking, wow, we're going to be overwhelmed with speakers. And I'm going to explain how you will actually have to make a choice of some of the speakers. But we're going to reveal that over the next couple of weeks. So we're very delighted that we've got Shawbrook Bank coming. Now, Shawbrook Bank are a major lender into the HMO space. Has anybody here used Shawbrook for any of their lending before? Yeah, hands are going up all over the place. Amazing. That's great. So you're all aware of Shawbrook. We've used them plenty of times as well. And their head of relationship strategy or lending strategy or something like that, Daryl Norcott, he is going to be speaking to us on the day. He's got a main stage slot in the morning, and we've asked him to come and talk because we know that for many people, the lending criteria is one of the factors that allows them to scale or not to scale. And so we need to understand what is a bank like Shawbrook, where a lot of their lending book is based on HMOs. What are they going to be looking for in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months in terms of lending? And what criteria are they looking for in your HMO in order to finance it? So that is going to be a very, very good talk, and you'll have a chance to ask them questions. So we're really, really pleased to have Shawbrook there. And another speaker who is coming again with real expertise and knowledge about this aspect of the industry is Angus Stewart, and he is going to be speaking about EPCs. We know that the EPC regime is changing, and we felt that at this conference it would be remiss of us not to have someone speaking about this particular aspect. It feels in some ways, I think, over the last few years that every few months we've had to deal with a new law, a new piece of legislation, and something that's coming over the horizon. And part of what we exist to do is to educate landlords about those new pieces of legislation that are coming on the horizon and how you need to think about it. So it will be about helping you to prepare. It will also be about helping you to address some of those issues and to ask some of the tougher questions that maybe you've got nowhere else to be able to ask those questions. We want you to be able to speak up, to raise your voice, and to let those in the know what you're thinking. That's very important to us, to share your voice. So we're really pleased to have those 2 speakers, and I think it's going to be it's going to be great to have them there. There may be a couple of other people as well who will be in the event, and I can't say too much at the moment. Other lenders, they won't be speaking, but they may have a stand. There may be another presence of another lender. I'm just in discussions with them at the moment. So there will be some opportunities again for you to network and have plenty of time to speak to the people who are going to be at the event on the day. So, this is why we're getting really excited about it. And hopefully you are too. Now, you've heard from some of our speakers, but there's still more to come. So the next person that I want to introduce you to is a wonderful guy who has got huge experience in the student sector market. So on the call tonight, just show me a hand if you are doing student HMOs. Anybody investing in student HMOs? Yes, Carrie Ann, you've got your hand up. And I'm sure that when people see the recording as well, this is going to go out far and wide. More people will be virtually putting their hand up. So Greg White, can I come to you? Tell me a little bit about your background, Greg.
Yes, hello, Wendy. Thanks for the invite. So we're a student accommodation provider. Started out in the letting and management arena many years ago now. 18 years ago, I worked out today. Transitioned into the landlord arena starting in around 2012. We have developed or renovated around 1,400 student bedrooms across multiple geographical locations, which include Worcester, Birmingham, Liverpool, Nottingham, Cardiff, Bristol, and Newcastle. We have focused our portfolio somewhat. We're just based now in Nottingham, Liverpool, Cardiff, and Bristol, which is where we're based and where our head office is. So we look after a number of student rooms from a 3-bedroom flat up to a sort of small halls of residence, but by definition, not any form of purpose-built accommodation. So below institutional, I guess maybe sort of portfolio professional operator, for want of a better phrase. We do all of our own development in-house, and we now do all our own operation in-house as well. So very brief introduction there. Thank you for the invite to come along on the day. Just a few points that we were going to touch on. Hopefully they're of interest to your listeners and guests on the day, but we wanted to touch on obviously the specific sector of student. I don't believe it's going to be as affected as the wider HMO market, just by the design of a university course. We know it starts in September and it finishes in May or June. So probably potentially some of these the notice periods that are affecting young professional or families lets may not quite impact us as much, but will of course create change, and students of course are always looking to save money, so it will be interesting to see how that pans out. So we'll talk more on that. We've been asking our students what it means to them. Do they know anything about it? Do they care? We've also will give our opinions on how we think they will behave down the line, and what therefore that might do to occupancy rates, rents, move-in dates, move out, the practical operation, nuts and bolts of practically how we will deal with potentially changing dates and no longer having fixed terms. We're also going to talk about energy performance and what we've been doing and what we would recommend others do to start to prepare. And we also plan to controversially, and it's a bit of a cliffhanger, talk about whether the RRB will in fact maybe help our little student space. And that might create some bit of a reaction, but perhaps hopefully people will hear us out on the day and create some good talking points for consideration for everyone. But yeah, looking forward to it, and a very brief overview of what we plan to talk about, and I will intend to open up for a few questions or whatever if anyone wants to debate or duel on any areas.
Yeah, Greg, I think that's amazing. So Greg and I caught up a little bit earlier today, and we were just kind of, talking a little bit about some of the unintended consequences of the Renters' Rights Bill. And you're right, there's quite a lot of doom and gloom out there about it, particularly from the student sector. So it'll be very good to hear your take. Don't share it with us tonight. Save it for the May the 1st. Okay.
Will do.
Golden nuggets. Thank you very much indeed, Greg. Really great to have you. I know
welcome.
Greg's also been putting children to bed tonight,
yes,
so he's
sorry,
got
I had to keep running off.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Now, as well as having a lineup of amazing speakers, the day is going to include sessions in the morning where we will all be in the same room together. And then in the afternoon, there'll be breakout sessions, which you'll have to choose. Oh, the choice. It's so great. How are you going to choose? But we will give you plenty of notice in advance so that you know which speakers are on at which times, and you will be able to choose one out of two breakout sessions in the afternoon. So there's going to be two breakout sessions at each session. We're going to have three speakers speaking simultaneously, obviously in different areas of the conference centre. So there's going to be a lot of content, but I think it's going to not only stimulate you and engage you, but we also have got time to have discussions. And we want to make sure that we have plenty of time to hear your view, to gather your opinion, because what we're going to do is to create a video of the day. We'd love to get some testimonials as well. If people are willing to give some testimonials, our videographer will be going around collaring you and asking you if you'd give a testimonial. But we then want to send the information from this day up to the powers that be. And what we mean by that is we've got a cross-party group of MPs who are engaged on matters to do with housing, and they are tentatively engaged on HMOs. We're still working on that one. We have made some inroads in getting HMOs more identifiable as a sector within the private rental sector when it comes to legislation. But we've got to carry on doing that work. We're also hoping to have a couple of journalists there that day who will be covering the event. So it's going to, I'm hoping, create some vibes and some ripples, which will help all of us to, if you like, focus on HMOs and make the day the focus of what this means for HMOs moving forward. You're also going to be very well looked after. So refreshments are provided throughout the day. We've got 3 refreshment slots when you arrive, mid-morning and mid-afternoon. And we've got a lovely hot lunch buffet on offer as well. There's lots of different choices, and we will be asking you before the event for any dietary restrictions that we need to tell the conference centre about. So if you've got a specific type of diet, most of them I think they can cover, and if there's a problem, we'll obviously come back to you and deal with that individually. But vegetarian, vegan, I think they can do halal. There's a few that they can't do, but they're very, very experienced in giving a wide selection of foodstuffs, and I've seen the menu and it looks mega. So I, for one, will be first in the queue. Okay, you can elbow me out of the way if you think that's just a little bit too rude for the host to be first in the queue, but there we go. So the day is going to be a really, really great day. Let me just very quickly share with you the venue details in case you're not sure where it is. You may have booked a ticket but thought, where is the National Conference Centre? So this is the National Conference Centre. It's, as you can see, just near that very big A45, M42 junction. Now, there's quite a lot of roadworks going on around this part of Birmingham at the moment, well, Solihull, because it's the HS2 line is being developed near there. So if you're driving, just give yourself plenty of time to get there. There is a very big car park, free car parking, so you should be absolutely fine. And when you arrive, you want to be heading for the entrance is the National Motorcycle Museum. So head for the entrance that says National Motorcycle Museum, and there'll be signage that will point you into the way into the conference centre. And when you arrive, you'll register, and then you'll get your lanyard and an outline of the day, and teas and coffees and so on will be put on for you as well. And of course, we'll be delighted to meet you and put a name to the face or a face to the name. So that's where the event is going to be held. It is actually very good for public transport as well. It's really not too far from the Birmingham International Railway Station, which I'm rolling around on my map here. I can't quite see where it is. You can put it into directions and find out, but it's literally about a 10-minute taxi ride. It's somewhere in that big. Oh, there is it over here? Yeah, here we are. Birmingham International. There we go. There's Birmingham International Railway Station. So if you get the train to Birmingham International, it's a 10-minute taxi drive. And I suspect there'll be lots of other people arriving about that time. You can probably jump in a taxi together and save yourself some money by doing that. Now, if you haven't already got your ticket and you sat here thinking, do you know what, this is going to be such a good day, I can't afford to miss it. And I know May the 1st has got some other busy things going on, local elections being one of them. But once you've placed your vote, jump in your car, jump in the train, come along. And this is our ticketing website. So I will share that link in the chat panel. So if you haven't already bought your ticket, and that gives you a little bit more of a list of all the details of what the day is going to be. I'm afraid the early bird tickets have now finished. We're now on the main ticket price. Actually, I need to edit that. I'll take that off as of tonight. So I'm afraid the main ticket price is now what full price tickets, because we've only got a couple of weeks to go before ticket sales will end. So I will jump on and edit that a little bit later. Now, one of the things I also just want to end with, though, is to say a very, very big thank you to everybody who is supporting the event. And we have a lot of people who, yes, they've given their time, they've given their help in promoting it, they've given their input, and they've shared an awful lot of advice and helpful information for us. And I would like to just highlight one of those people who's here this evening. I'm sure many of you again will have heard of this particular entrepreneur, and his business, his platform is called Coho. And Coho is a very well-known platform for many HMO and landlords and managing agents. And so I'm very, very pleased that Van Vogstad, who is the founder of Coho, is here this evening. And he is one of our sponsors for the event. So Van, I don't know whether you would just like to say a couple of words about what you're looking forward to about the day and why you've decided to sponsor the event.
Hey. Wanting to sponsor because we are huge believers in where the market's going to go for shared living, and anything that can disrupt it negatively is not good for business. And also, I'm a big fan of shared living and what it can do to help the world. So if the council and the government and all of the other people who kind of don't see what we see are doing things that are going to slow down that mission to get better housing for people, we kind of want to throw our weight behind anyone who's trying to fight against that.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Fantastic. And Van, you messaged me saying, sorry, Wendy, I've got lots going on here, children, I can't speak. And then I'm saying, Van, come and speak. Come and speak.
I'm in a shirt that's far too tight, and I was planning to just stay off camera.
Well, listen, we're very pleased to see you on camera because you're a massive contributor to the sector as well, in everything you do. And obviously, Coho runs the HMO Awards, which is the major industry awards every year. And Van will no doubt share some of that with us on May the 1st as well, because summer season, it's maybe silly season for us, but these are all very important events that happen, and the HMO Awards are a fantastic event. If you haven't been along, speak to Van on May the 1st, get your ticket and get along there. That's at the end of July, so mid to end of July. So yeah, great. So Van, thank you very much indeed for your support as well. And we've got a couple of other sponsors who are also going to be there on the day. Again, I'm not going to tell you too much about them right now. I don't want to reveal all the cards. We have some other guests who will be with us. So there's going to be plenty of chance to network, plenty of chance to share and speak with other people. Now, before we finish, I just want to quickly open up for any questions. Has anybody got any questions that you would like to ask me about the practicalities or anything I haven't covered that you'd like to know, either because you've got your ticket and you can't wait to come, maybe you want to bring somebody along with you now that you've heard what's happening and you think they should know about it, please share the link and the details. Or if there's any other question that you've got. Clearly, I have stunned you. Stunned by the silence. That's actually probably a better way to end. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for being here tonight. Steve, I'm just going to ask you very quickly to unmute yourself because you will be our MC for the day. How do you feel now that you've seen some of the speakers, now that you've heard some of what they're going to be saying?
Yeah, very excited. I mean, there's a number of them I don't really know, actually. You're much better connected than I am. I'm not in the student market, but I'm really enthused to hear Greg talking positively about possible opportunities and some upsides, because it has felt, from my point of view, that it's particularly tough actually in the student market. So if you're in that market, I think you'll be really enthused to come along and hear a bit about that. Alan and Des know their stuff, evidently know their stuff. I've known Alan for a couple of years now, and I've been in the midst of that joy with council tax and disaggregation of one of my houses in Windsor. So I've been down that path, and everyone else clearly is subject matter experts. So I think it's going to be a great day. There's a lot to pack in, and actually I think the hardest choice people are going to have is if there are 6 sessions, but the way the agenda set up is you can only get to 2 of them. If you're bringing a mate, divide and conquer, share notes afterwards, all those sorts of good things, because there's going to be real pearls of wisdom in the room.
Amazing. Yeah, wonderful. So yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing you. Thank you very much. By a show of hands, I only need one hand, who has already bought their ticket? There's still some people still wavering on the fence. So if you haven't already bought your ticket, please do so. And we very, very much look forward to seeing you May the 1st. Doors open about 9 o'clock. I think we'll start serving tea and coffee between 9 and 9:30, and then we start the conference at 9:30 a.m. So please be there. If you think there's somebody you know who should be there, again, share this with them. It's not too late to buy tickets. And yeah, fantastic. And let's spread the word. And thank you very much for being here this evening. See you on May the 1st, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Wendy. Cheers.
See you soon.